Good evening, everybody. My name's Nick, call signs KN6DAL, and I want to welcome you to the 2 Meter Crew Antinet. We want to take a second and just say a big thanks to the owners and supporters of all of the different connections that we have. Big thanks to the W6VVR repeater and the Vacaville Radio Club. Also, big thanks to Freestar Network for the use of their digital connections, and also the owners and operators of the WX5 NAS repeater system. And a big shout out to Mike, WG5EEK, Greg, W5GSW, and Brian, KK6BXP, for all the work they put into all our connections.
6VVR repeater.
All right, before we get rolling, we'll just take a moment to see if there's any emergency or priority traffic. And just a footnote, if there ever is at any point during this Antinet, you can always just say break with your call, and we'll clear the air for you if you have any emergency traffic. So what do we got out there? Any emergency or priority traffic? Come on in now. All right, nothing heard there. That's a good thing, I suppose. Here's the disclaimer. Are you all ready? The 2 Meter Crew's not an actual club. We're just a group of ham enthusiasts. We're learning and enjoying all things ham related. There's no dues, no fees to be a 2 Meter Crew member. All you got to do is say, I'm a 2 Meter Crew member. For more information, you can visit our website. That's at 2metercrew.net. You can also join our Discord group. We are live on YouTube, and there is links in the description to check out those places. All right. Also, super important, the Antinet is open for all. It's supposed to be a welcoming invitation to anybody who's new or experienced. We welcome any and all chatter. If anybody has anything they want to add to a comment or want to break in at any time, that's totally welcome. There's no orchestration to that. So if you have anything you feel like you can add, you can just jump on in and say it. The 2 Meter Crew Antinet meets every Wednesday at 8 p.m., which is Pacific Standard Time, and 3 a.m. UTC. And we are on the W6VVR repeater in Vacaville, California. There's also many different digital links that you can connect through. Echolink is at W6VVR-R. Allstar Nodes 51094 and 512342 are connected. You can link up with us on DMR through talk group 3174117. Also through YSF Reflector 50462. And through Freestar, their All-Star links are 2195 and 2196. We're also linked through the Mad Scientist Amateur Radio Club in San Mateo, California. And if you can't jump on any of our digital connections through the radios or repeaters, you can always join our Zoom link. We'll be posting links to that in the YouTube chat throughout the night for anybody that wants to join in that way.
Yes, ET's a phone home tonight. WG5. Yeah.
All right. Last but not least, the Antinet is always being live streamed here at Northwest Ham Shack. So if you like and subscribe, you can get notifications when we go live, which again is every Wednesday night at 8 p.m. So let's see if we got any stations out there that are new or have recently upgraded their license. If you're new to the hobby, have recently gotten your ticket, or are in the process of upgrading or have just recently upgraded, come on in now. All right, that's what I like to hear, a bunch of undermotivated people. So if you haven't gotten your general and you're a tech and you're listening, I'd encourage you to go do that. There's all kinds of cool resources, and we love to see people who get that upgrade, because it definitely gives you some more bandwidth and different operating privileges. So get out there and learn and grow. So let's take any and all check-ins. Anybody that wants to check into the 2 Meter Crew Anti-Net, come on in now. This is where we need the cricket sound for YouTube.
Yeah, I wish I had a soundboard. That'd be fun.
We need Connor on here. He's got one.
I think mine would be Arnold Schwarzenegger's clips. Get to the radio.
All right, this is Nick, KN6DAL. We do have Mike here. He's made a special appearance all the way from Arkansas. We don't get to see too much of you, Mike. You've been super busy. So tell us a little bit about how things are going over there and how just how you've been doing. I'll pass it over to you. WG5EEK from KN6DAL.
All right, thanks, Nick. Yeah, this is WG5EK, and yeah, I've been kind of absent lately. I've just been a lot, overwhelmed with work, not a lot of free time. You know how it is with young kids and starting a new job after moving, and you just got to have a lot of commitments there. But I'm glad to be here, super happy and stoked to be a part of this Anti-Net crew. Always have been, and I always be a member no matter what happens. It's just a bunch of great guys here. So what have I been doing? Just trying to build up my shack. I've got this room here. I've got a little bit of space in this house that's kind of mine, which is nice. I didn't really have that before. It was kind of a shared space with the family, but I've got a door, as you can see. It's nice and heavy duty and painted, and if I could pan around, you would see a line of radios here, radios over there, and a nice comfy space for me. And then beyond that, I've got a nice little GMRS setup out in the garage, which I'm kind of hosting a link system using the Allstar network, but it's completely separate. Like you have Allstar as a base, but you can segregate that from the system. And we've kind of done that here in the state of Arkansas. We're trying to link a bunch of repeaters together. I think we've got about 7 now that's linked statewide, and we're always adding more. So just don't limit yourself to amateur radio, which is amazing. You can, you don't have to do that. If you're watching and you're like, man, like taking a test is just not for me, you can always just pay the FCC $35, and now you can talk with your whole family. I know we've covered that before on some previous streams a few years ago about GMRS and emergency preparedness. And it's not just for that. You can also use it just to talk to your friends and family. Like I could have a license and it covers my entire family. I can talk to my brother-in-law, my sister-in-law, my mom, my dad, my kids, my wife, brother, sister, aunts, uncles, all with one license. And that's good for 10 years. So it's kind of cool to be able to have that opportunity to help set that up here in Northwest Arkansas and get it linked statewide. So that's kind of what I've been working on since I've moved here to the great state of Arkansas. This is WG5EEK, and back to you, Nick. KN6DAL, WG5EEK.
All right, thanks, Mike. KN6DAL, Nick here. So I actually have a couple questions for you about GMRS. One of the things that you noted was $35. So my understanding is the license price has dropped significantly. If that's correct, I'll let you come back to that. And then the second thing is, you mentioned a lot of extended family there. Can you define for me and for everybody else what defines family by the FCC in relation to that license, and how that can work to your benefit, or what the limitations are at that?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So like I said, $35. It used to be 70, I believe, either 70 or 75, which is what I paid for a few years ago, which I actually had my license for GMRS before I got my ham ticket. But yes, it's now $35. That whole fee that went to effect that affected amateur radio, which raised the price from $0 for amateur radio to $35, also had an effect on GMRS, which lowered it from $70 to $35. So it's now even. Kind of sucks for amateur radio, but it lowers the price down to $35 for GMRS users, which is nice because a lot of GMRS users, they get hooked on radio, and then they want to pursue their amateur radio license, because a lot of the people, believe it or not, that are into GMRS, they probably have been or have helped with amateur radio or with GMRS, and they're amateur radio operators like you and me, Nick. So it kind of goes hand in hand. Like me, I like radio in general. If you looked at my shack right now, I have GMRS radios, I have amateur radios, I have a CB hooked up. Like I have scanners that I've had for 30 years, believe it or not. I just love radio. So, and as that kind of answers that question, and then the next question was, you asked like, what does it cover for who can operate under your license? Because with amateur radio, it's a single use license. Yes, you can have third party communication, but you kind of need to be there to oversee that. But with GMRS, they can just identify with your license as long as they are immediate family. And the FCC does define that. It's in the Part 95 regulations. You got to look it up to see exactly who it is. I don't want to speculate. You want to drop and reset the repeater real quick, Nick?
Good.
All right. Again, this is WG5EEK. So honestly, immediate family, like it's defined, but like if they're your immediate family, pretty much almost everybody's covered. There are some exceptions, but like your mom, dad, brother, sister, aunt, uncle, in-laws, they're covered. I'm not saying your third, fourth, fifth, sixth cousins are covered, because that's kind of ridiculous. But like your immediate family that you would consider like, this is my core family, they are covered under your license. The unique thing about GMRS, like you get one call sign, right? So like my call sign in GMRS is WRCZ523. So if I'm talking to my wife or my sister or whoever, they will just have to identify with that same license. So on my radios that I usually give out, I usually print that on a label maker. It says WRCZ 523 right on there. So they just have to talk that. Now, there are allowances. If you want to go beyond that, you can say, hey, this is WRCZ 523 or whatever your call sign is. And then you could say like Unit 1 or Alpha, or, this is Tina or whatever. You don't have to just limit yourself to that. And it makes it easier, if you know who you're talking to. But it's not a requirement to go beyond that initial call sign. And one of the other differences with GMRS is instead of every 10 minutes for amateur radio, it's every 15, for GMRS. So it gives you a little bit more leeway. And there are specific channelized frequencies with GMRS versus amateur radio. You can kind of go wherever in your band plan, but GMRS is very specific. You have a few narrow bandwidth channels that kind of share with the FRS, which is a family radio service, which is license free, like CB, where it's licensed by radio. Your radio is licensed, not you. Whereas GMRS, you have to pay for a license, but there are some shared channels, shared frequencies. So that's kind of neat. You can talk to people who are not licensed, and that might spark an interest to get licensed in GMRS or even licensed in amateur radio. So like, there's a lot of different kind of cool, like, going in between different services, which I kind of like, because it just leads to more interest if that's what they want to pursue. So that's pretty much it. WG5EEK.
All right, thanks, Mike. KN6DAL. You brought up, actually stirred some things in my brain without intending to, but one of the things that you made me think of is, so there's a GMRS repeater here in the Seattle area, and I can hit it from home. I can't talk on it because I don't have a GMRS license, but I can receive really well from it. And there is a group of people that are ham radio operators that actually have their GMRS license and have gone in and had like training over the air sessions where they talk about the test questions and go over test questions. And there's been a couple of people that have got their ham radio license through that and ended up on local ham repeaters. So that integration that you were kind of talking to, it happens all the time. It's happening all over the place. And that's a lot of fun, to sit in and hear people talk and then see them go and take their test and get their license. So I think that's pretty cool. And now that the price is super affordable, I can't see a reason why I don't have it. So that's my homework for this weekend. I'm going to look at getting that taken care of. And the other thing that came to mind when you were talking is relating to your family, is like your kids. What a cool way of getting your kids involved in actual radio, like with the use of repeaters and different things like that, than to just get that GMRS license, because now you're covering your whole family. You can get them involved, and you can get that length of, you can be a really long way away from them and still have that communication, and it makes it really cool.
Oh yeah. Yeah, so one of the cool things about that is, since I had my GMRS license and we moved from California, drove all the way here from Arkansas. We had two vehicles, right? Like my wife and daughter in one vehicle, me and my son in another vehicle. I gave my wife a GMRS radio. I had a GMRS radio. We could communicate no matter what. Cell phone service goes down, we still got radios, and it's faster. You know how long it takes to connect and call somebody sometimes? It might not go through for like several seconds or a minute sometimes, depending on service. I could say, hey, I got to stop right for a few miles, just like ham radio. It's UHF, right? So like you're gonna have more distance, and she loves it. And like back in the day, I literally have a Radio Shack one that has no CTCSS, no privacy codes. It's just open, and she hated using those. That's what I had for a long time. They were FRS radios. But with GMRS, you could program a random like DCS code that no one's going to use. You're not going to find it. And like I can program mine the same way. And yeah, other people can hear you, but you're not getting. My wife was like, was that you? Was that you? Was that you? No, it wasn't me. Like, my voice, but like it just makes it to where it feels private, even though it's not private. But like she's not constantly having to like pay attention to the radio. It's like, hey, if you hear something, this is actually me, not some random person, because people buy GMRS radios at big box stores like Walmart, Target, wherever, and they're like cheap. You can get a $20 radio for a pack of two. But with a good GMRS radio, you can make it more private, for at least you can direct communication, which is fun. Like, so it worked out really well for us, like, honestly.
Super awesome. Thanks for that info, Mike. This is Nick, KN6DAL. Let's see who we got out there. Anybody else out there got any comments on GMRS and how it relates to ham radio, or anything else completely off that topic? Come on in now.
Oh well, nobody wants to talk. So I'll say something else. So this is Mike again here in Town, Arkansas, WG5PEK. So let's talk about Raspberry Pi prices. Are they crazy or what? So let me tell you something to avoid. I tried to buy one on Alibaba Express. I saw a nice deal. It was like $60. Pi 4, SD card, power supply case, heat sinks, like fans, all that stuff. Yeah, they shipped this to some dude in Florida. Never got it. Contacted support. They're like, oh, you have to wait 60 days. They might show up. I'm like, I have the DHL shipment that says it was signed for by some person in Florida. So they would not give me a refund. So I contacted PayPal. I'm like, hey, can you please look into this, because they ripped me off. So if you're thinking about seeing all these cheap prices on Alibaba, I wouldn't recommend it. You might have luck with other things, but if it looks to be a deal that's too good to be true, it usually is. So I got ripped off. Don't let that happen to you. eBay might work if it's local. Facebook Marketplace, just find. Sometimes Target has them in stock. Believe it or not, sometimes Target will have a Raspberry Pi in stock. I've seen them in person. Just do your research. Don't get suckered by me like I did. Just don't do it. There's other places. I found really good deals on eBay. I got a pack of two. Some guy was selling two of them. One was a Pi 3B, one was a Pi 3B Plus. I think I paid $70 for the both of them. They had cases, power supplies, SD cards, all that stuff. So you got to just be patient, because your money is precious. Like, look at the price of everything in America. It's going up, right? So just like gas, food, pies, they're all going up. So just be mindful. Don't waste your money on something that's it's not gonna turn out, basically. So yeah.
KN6DAL. You know what's funny, Mike, is I think we we kind of got lucky with the timing of the like Raspberry Pi movement, because I think I can attest that I'm in kind of the same boat as you are. I've got them running around everywhere, and it's like I got in on it when they were so much less expensive than they are now. But I've seen some Pi 4s that were like $150 or something like that, if I'm remembering right, and that's insane. If you look at like what they were designed to be like $30-$40 computers, but because of the availability, they get sent to a second supplier, and that second supplier says, hey, supply and demand, I'm going to mark it up whatever I want, and then people will be willing to pay more to get the convenience factor of like 2 day shipping through Amazon and just all those different things. It's insane how expensive they have gotten, to where you should be able to get a Pi Zero 2 right now for, what was it, 15 or $20, and
Yeah.
you can't find them anywhere. You can't even, they're not even available.
So,
So what I've found is, and I could get really going on a lot of the like used stuff, but oftentimes if you go through like I've yet to be burned on QRZ. That seems to be a pretty popular swap site. Although to post stuff you have to pay to play, kind of thing. So I'm not
that makes it
like,
a little bit safer, right?
yeah. So
Yeah.
you don't have to. You're not going to get burned. I don't think. I've never had anything but really good positive experiences with people there. It seems to be people just like me or you that are just looking to offload stuff. The prices are typically reasonable to what you would think, and you can always negotiate that stuff. So yeah, good point. Cheaper's not always better, depending on where you look. But let's break here real quick. See if there's anybody else out there. We'll take another call. See if anybody out on the repeaters or any of the digital connections wants to check in. You can come on in now. All right, nothing being heard. You did have a comment aimed towards you, Mike, on YouTube, by
Okay.
the name of Anna. She said Michael should move to Seattle, and
Yeah.
and then I said I would give anything for him to move up here, and she said you'd be happier up here. I don't know. I don't know if that's the case. There is quite a bit of rain, so you'd have to take like some vitamin D supplements compared to where you're at. But she's super excited that you use GMRS to integrate your kids into the hobby, and I can attest for Mike. I've seen his kid walking around with a little bow fang hanging around his neck, and you definitely get him involved. So it's always super cool to see that, and get kids on the air. Tons of fun. But thanks for the comment, Anna. We'll take one last call before we release the repeaters. Is there anybody else that wants to check into the 2 Meter Crew Anti-Net? Come on in now. All right, nothing being heard. We're going to be hanging out on YouTube for a little bit. If anybody wants to join in on the Zoom chat, we have links in the chat box on YouTube to do that. You can come on in anytime. And I want to just say 7-3 and thank you to everybody who checked in. And we will see everyone next week.
All right. And I would like to just say thank you for, having me on here, Nick. It's always a pleasure. And my good friend Anna, yeah, I talk to her a lot. She's my really good friend there. She lives in the northern part of, I don't want to give her away, but she lives up there in Washington, not too far from you, Nick. And I'm super excited that she was able to come on here and say hello. So hi Anna, it's good to have you on, and hopefully you'll be a regular to the channel. So this is a WG5EEK saying 7-3 to all those out there in RF land, and hope to see you in the Zoom chat.
I'm going to turn the radio down just a little bit, but I'll leave it connected just for a minute. If VVR gets annoying, we'll we'll unhook it. Yeah, that's cool that you know her. Hopefully, she'll jump on and maybe get more involved in ham radio.
Yeah, I mean, I would love to have her like, get a radio or get a license or whatever and hook her up with some equipment once she gets settled. I know she's getting ready to, change her hopefully living situation and hopefully have some better uh, opportunities to expand on the things that she loves to do. So yeah, she's a super nice person, and I just
Awesome.
just ecstatic that she's watching. So that I think that's awesome.
That's cool. She did say that she played a little with ham radios when she was a little kid, but doesn't know much about them now. So here's your calling card, Anna. If you need help, reach out. We're more than happy to help you. We can get you set up with our Discord group. There's hundreds of people that would be more than happy to sit down, have Zoom calls, whatever you need as far as helping you get set up if that's something that interests you. So don't hesitate to ask. But super cool, man. So you got the move down, everything's there. You're kind of getting squared away. I love that you're getting a shack set up. You got any ideas or plans for like any bigger towers or anything?
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you asked that. So I have an arborist coming soon. Like he actually works for the city of Springdale, Arkansas, which is one of the bigger cities next to where I live. Just basically, it's attached to this. The crazy thing about here is like every city in the area basically runs into each other, right? So he works for the city of Springdale, Arkansas, and he's going to come out, trim some trees, right? But I asked him, like, hey man, like, just can I ask you a weird question? He's like, okay, what? Like this could lead anywhere. Like, what's a weird question, right? So I was like, so I want to hang some antennas in some of these trees here. And since you have a bucket truck, like I was hoping you could, you know, put some pulleys up in these trees and I could kind of like run some antennas up and down. And he's like, I work with ham guys all the time. Like, yeah, here's a link to some like websites. You can look at some pulleys, all that stuff. I looked at some of his stuff and like some of the pulleys were like expensive.
Yeah.
Like talking about more than the radios that I use. I was like, let me go to Lowe's.
Yeah.
So I went to Lowe's. I was like, here's a pulley rated at like 1,000 pounds. It costs $7. I'm like, give me two of those. I get some rope, some nylon rope, or not nylon, but some like nice rope from Amazon, right? And I got some carabiners. I'm like, so like, yeah. So for like really an inexpensive amount, you can run some pulleys up in some existing trees, and that's an opportunity for me because who wants to go dig a giant hole and run poles up in their yard? I do. My wife doesn't. So like it's an opportunity. Like so that's what I'm working on is getting some antennas hung. I've got some coax going to run to my shack. The other thing is I've got some really cool people here in the local area. One's a GMRS guy. He's got some Roan 25 towers pieces that he's going to give me. I just need to get some time set up and go pick them up basically. I've got another guy who works for a local TV station here, ham radio guy, GMRS guy. He actually founded the GMRS linking network here in Arkansas. He's moving from the southern part of the state up here, just purchased a house, and he's moving up here. He's like, I've got some pieces of Roan 25 you can have. I'm like, this is awesome. I'm getting hooked up just for being part of a community. So like people like, you don't understand, like if you're not into radio, that's cool. But like if you are into radio and you just ask, like, people just give stuff to you. But in turn, you help them out with things that they want projects with. It's not just a give, to give and take, right? So I helped up with the GMRS linking, with the Allstar, modifying it from ham radio to GMRS, making it a closed network with another individual here. With his name is Mason. He's a great guy, college student, like got a great job with the aerospace industry. Smart dude. Like you get a dork like me and a really, really smart guy like him working together, like you get some stuff happening, so like it's all being, involved. You have to be involved, right? You can't just kind of just stand back and hope something nice happens. You got to like just be involved. And it doesn't take a lot of effort, it really doesn't. Just, I don't know. It's fun. Like I just have so much fun, with different people. And they're one of the guys, local guy, lives like a couple miles from me. Dude, the dude's like probably in his late 60s, which is great. The other guy's in his 40s like me. Like, and then the other guy who's doing the gym wrestling with me, he's younger than me. He's like probably mid 20s. This hobby and any radio hobby in general is just everybody. It involves everybody, right? You don't have to be a certain age. You don't have to be a certain gender or any of that stuff. You just have to have an interest in it. And that's what I love, like this hobby and this just, I don't know, it's just fun. I just have fun with it, like that's all, that's what it's about.
Yeah,
it's just great.
It's a total blast. I one thing that intrigued me about ham radio, because it started for me like it started for a lot of people. It was I want an emergency service basically.
Right.
And then it so quickly got so far away from that it was like, and that's still kind of a passion of mine. I want to have that preparation in case something in our very technical lives were to fail, which happens. Like the cell phone grid can fail very, very, very easily, things like that.
This week they're out on the East Coast, completely out.
Yeah, so I mean there's stuff like that where the utility is definitely there, but it really quickly grew into something much more than that. And as it expanded, I started finding how broad just the ham radio hobby really was. It was more than just talking on a radio. It was more than just using a repeater. It got into, I mean, how many hours did we spend coding and learn, or not coding, but running command line and learning how to work on Allstar nodes and how to configure different things. And I mean, you just spent hours and hours and hours, and I mean weeks on end teaching me things like that. That was huge fun. That it was frustrating. There was hours where we got nothing done, nothing accomplished, but the next day it was like voila, we got through that part of it. And and then come to find out all the work we put into it, somebody did it later on, and you can just download it now. And it's like whatever. But no, that kind of stuff, I wouldn't trade that experience, those types of experiences, for anything, because what am I going to use, programming in Linux? What is that going to do for me as far as like an emergency service? Probably not a whole lot, right? But the utility of just learning that has helped me in many areas of my life. And I'm not an expert. There's a lot of things I have to learn, but it's so fun to like grow and just kind of experience different stuff. The one thing that I didn't think I would really ever be super excited about learning, that I'm starting to kind of get interested in, is maybe trying to work birds, trying to play with the satellites a little bit. I've never done it. I've never really gotten involved, just because it seemed like a lot of prep work for like a 6-minute pass, that might not do anything for. But I don't know. I see some people that they're just all about it, so.
Yeah, like you talk to Fred, like he loves that stuff. And there's a local guy here who actually maintains the university's like network system as far as ham radio and like the antenna stuff. Like he gave a topic, I honestly can't remember his call sign. I'm just bad with remembering recently, but like he gave a talk at a local club meeting here, and he spent an hour talking about, like different satellites and like what antennas to use. And like, it's not as intimidating as it seems. So like if that's your thing, like give it a try. Like what are you gonna lose?
Yeah.
What are you gonna lose? But yeah, like that stuff that we did, like I love doing that. Like I love troubleshooting. It makes it fun, like because you learn something and I learn more. Believe it or not, I learned stuff because you're asking questions that I never thought about. Like that's kind of what it's all about, right? You ask something and like, what does that actually do? Then I have to go research it, and then I have to give you an answer, right? It's just like a teacher. They're going to teach stumped every day at school. They are, because these kids these days are so smart.
Right.
They're they have these questions that like you would never think of. My son asks these questions off the wall all the time. I'm like, I never thought about that. I have no idea what you're talking about, but I have to give you an answer because I'm the dad, I'm the teacher, whatever. Like you can't lie to them. They'll know. So you have to do the
Right.
research work, right? So yeah, it's fun. It's a win-win for everybody.
So what are your plans for field day down there?
Yeah. I I'm not into contesting. I never have been.
Me either.
Um, if I do show up somewhere, it'll just be for the human interaction, to enjoy someone else's setup and someone else's passion about what they're doing. Because for me, learning what other people are doing to make their signal go out is fun for me. Doing it like just to do it, for me, it's not as fun. I just like seeing people be super stoked about what their setup is and what they're trying and what they're doing, and then just having that interaction. I enjoy that more at times than trying to make as many contacts as possible, right? Like I've never been a very competitive person. I just, like go with the flow. So like
Yeah.
I will meander around and just see what people are doing, and that's cool. Like I know you didn't have the opportunity to come up when we were doing field days in California when I was there, but I would go talk to people and then I'd cook food
Yeah.
because everybody loves to eat, right?
Yeah.
So like you get to like, hey man, how's your day going? Like, how many contacts you've made? Like, what are your favorite bands today? And you just make that conversation, right? Like to me, that's like very critical. Like
Yeah, for sure.
I just do. I like talking to people versus just hi bye, hi bye, hi
Yep.
bye. You
No,
know,
I couldn't agree with you more. And in fact, I don't know that I've actually like invested into into any kind of contest, like actually submitted anything other than when I'm at field day, just because all I do is submit it to the club and they deal with it, right?
yeah,
And
yeah,
so the whole thing with field day for me is it's like it's a venue, right? And so like you've got all these people with a common goal of setting up equipment, and it's to me it's just fun getting everybody together, having an event going on. I couldn't agree with you more about the contest side of it. I could care less. Last year at field day, I was probably like the only person on the West Coast operating QRP, and I mean everybody was just running gobs of power, and and we were the club. I don't know what our elevation was, but it was low in that field by the military museum.
mhm,
I'm not sure exactly what the name of that was, but it was we were at ground level. I wasn't. I made I think four contacts the
yep,
entire weekend, cute with under 10 watts, and I had a blast. I mean, I got to
yeah,
set up I got to set up my gear and take down my gear and try out different antennas, and we got to put up a 160-meter dipole, and Kellen set up his tower. It was just a really really good time.
yeah. The cool
So
thing I like about field day is you get to see everybody's setup, and everybody sets up something differently. So it kind of makes you think like, ooh, I could probably do that at my home, my QTH,
yep,
right? I could do that, when I'm mobile. So like it just sparks innovation, sparks ideas, like makes you think outside the box. Like you're just like, I want to do this, and this is what I want to do. You see all these people doing all these wonderful things, and they're making contacts and they're doing their thing, and you can do that at your house, or you can do that while you're on the top of a mountain, right? Because I've
yeah,
seen you do some cool stuff like off your truck and run a wire.
yeah,
Like that's cool. That's really cool. And I've seen people have like custom build mounts that go into their hitch and they go
hmm
straight up with these military poles. I think that's cool. I've got to help stack those up and build those, and that's fun. Like it's hard to do with one person, but you bring somebody else who's interested in it, and you can do that. There's all sorts of things you can do. You can do an infed and just throw a line up straight up. I've got an infed right now hooked up to a receiver that's up with a rope into a tree, and it's running it into my shack, and I just listen. That I on an antenna I built with speaker wire and toroid. It's awesome. Like how cool is that? Like
yeah,
that is fun. it's just fun, So there's all sorts. You can't
Funny
limit
thing
yourself.
about speaker wire, I'm glad you brought that up because, I've heard a lot of people like say, and you see it online a lot, where they're like, I don't know what to do about an antenna. I mean, I can't really afford to do it this way. And it's like, hey, for like $6 at Walmart, you can go buy
Yeah.
all the speaker wire. Like, it is so dirt cheap. It's like the cheapest wire that you can get is speaker wire at Walmart. You just go
Yep.
buy it. Split. You have double the length. So if you get a 50-foot roll, you have 100 feet of wire.
Positive and negative.
Yeah.
You split.
Yeah, and I mean, you've got a dipole right there, ready to go. And so
Exactly.
you can literally invest like under $15 and have a really good, and it's not going to be good forever.
No.
Speaker wires can't support a lot of tension and stuff like that. But you'd be surprised. I bet you if we started asking, you're going to find somebody who's had a speaker wire antenna up for years, and they've never changed it because it works great.
When I was stationed in Okinawa, Japan, like for my scanners, I ran speaker wire up different directions and just picked up random stuff.
Yeah.
Like it was great, and you wouldn't believe that like a speaker wire will get out, but like what's an antenna? It's just metal, right? Speaker wires, metal, right? So yeah, it's going to work great. Just have to make sure that your SWR is good, before you transmit. But like a lot of people run, tuners, so it's compromised. Or you could get a meter and tune it and cut it. It really doesn't take that much time and effort. A lot of people, the factor is people are intimidated by building something themselves, right? Like it's like a learning curve with anything else. So you just got to do it. I was honestly like intimidated by building an antenna. Like I was like, what if I mess something up? Who cares?
Right.
You're gonna make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes in anything as you're learning. That's just the human nature. You're gonna make a mistake. Just have fun with it. Do it. And like if you don't know how to do it, ask somebody. How do I do this? That's why we have our Discord. That's why there's other forums. There's other groups. There's no reason not to just try. Nobody's going to tell you. Nobody in our group is going to tell you you're dumb.
No,
they're gonna.
I mean, I've seen some pretty.
That's why I love us, because we will go out of our way to help you. That's just our nature.
I've seen some pretty wacky stuff posted, and like I still think it's cool. Like there's like it might not be what I would do. Or it might not be something that's interesting to me, but if someone took the time to build it and it works for them, that's all. I think it's awesome either way. I mean, who cares what I would build? I like seeing different ideas.
There's some really interesting antenna ideas on Reddit. Believe it or not, there's ham radio stuff on Reddit. Right? Everybody knows what Reddit is. It's a website. But there's like ham radio, amateur radio, whatever. There's some really cool stuff on there as far as antenna modeling software, where like you think, and I think an antenna is either up or down, left or right. That's it, right? Most antennas are like that. Maybe they'll have both, like a vertical with some ground plane.
Right.
Like some of the most like intriguing antenna designs, they just go off like, here's a line here, 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 a line here. And that's like what the antenna modeling said. This is the best configuration for this frequency. And it's just completely random. You would never build something like that on your own, right? I want to try something like that, because like you could just solder some random pieces together based on what that says and then try it. What's it going to hurt? Like, yeah, it doesn't work. The model said it works. It really doesn't. Okay. Fun learning how to solder, right? You'll have to learn measuring. Like it's all skills that you can apply to other things. I was talking about just that exact thing, applying skills that you learn in one thing to another. So with my job, I work for a technology company that does a lot of field service stuff. So like we go out and fix things that are broken, right? Like I was telling you earlier, I have these touch screens that I have to replace, or components or whatever. One of the main guys that I work with, he had to transfer to a different position in the same company, and he was like not happy about it. And I understand that. Like, I've been there, we've all been there. We don't like change, right? I had to relate to him like, hey, look, man, I know you've built a relationship with these machines and you know all about these things. Now you can go to these other machines and apply some of that knowledge you learned, troubleshooting, like thinking outside the box, like talking to technicians. Because some people get very focused, they get blinded by like, this is what I know and this is all I want to do.
Right.
But you open the box, right? And now you have this other knowledge of other things and you can apply it, right? So like it really applies to everything. You learn something about an antenna that someone's built. Now you can apply that to something else. Like you just said before, before the stream, you were talking about an issue you had with Linux.
Yeah.
Right? The only reason you know Linux is because of ham radio.
Yeah.
Right? And now
Absolutely.
you've been able to apply that to your job site, and you've helped your own position there as far as like the machines you work on to get back up and running, because you've been able to apply things you've learned through amateur radio, and now it's affecting your job in a positive way. So like things interact that you will never really recognize. Like I can imagine like me, I've never thought about, like all these interactions, like operating systems, like Linux. I didn't know Linux until like I knew that it existed. I knew that personally I didn't like it until I got into amateur radio, and it's so integrated into some of the things that we love.
Right.
And time to do that, and it applies to anything. You find something that you're passionate about that's different than the norm, and then you can apply that to other things. And I think it's just wonderful.
Super cool stuff, man. So it's 8:48. I think we'll say 7-3 to those on YouTube, and we can hang out for just a little bit, and then if anybody wants to join, they're welcome to do that. And then next week, what do we got? 2 or 3 weeks till field day. I'm going to be going down to California again to see everybody. This time I'm flying. I'm not driving. Last year I drove, and I drove it in one day. I was so tired. And so this time I'm just flying down, getting picked up, going there, hanging out for the day, coming back, the next morning, early in the morning. And I think it'll be a lot of fun just to go. I'm taking my Elecraft and a couple HTs, and that's it. Just throwing them in a bag and going. So
Yeah, man.
it'll be a blast. But yeah, we'll say bye to everybody on YouTube, and then we'll see everyone next week. 7-3.
Have a good one.